Hey guys, what's up? Hope you're having a great day. St. Patrick's Day is coming up on Friday. I need to buy a green shirt before then. I was gonna wear it for this video. Turns out I don't have one, so I'm gonna need to change that before Friday. But I guess that's good because then I would just blend into the green screen. That would be kind of weird to look at. I also thought about leaving just the green screen behind me for the purposes of this video, but I guess I won't do that. But I thought this would be a fun opportunity for me to talk about my personal top 10 favorite green Magic the Gathering cards. Now, a couple disclaimers before we get into it. I'm not talking about multicolored cards that have green in them, and I'm not talking about artifacts that have green in them somewhere. And then also, this is mostly a list of just cards I play a lot, as well as some cards I just think make the game more fun. So because this list is purely subjective, if you have a couple cards that I don't mention here, let me know down in the comments. I may have even just forgotten them. Maybe your cards are cooler than mine, or maybe you're wrong, who knows? So honestly, this could have just been a ramp fest kind of list, but we're not gonna do that. So honorable mention, just to get it out of the way, I have two cards, Cultivate and Kodama's Reach. Basically the same card, except Kodama's Reach is an arcane spell, which is technically upside, but only like 1% of the time, if that. So for 2 and a green sorcery, search your library for up to 2 basic land cards, reveal them, put one onto the battlefield tapped and the other into your hand, then shuffle. Now I know that 2 mana ramp is technically better. Ramp and Growth, 3 visits, Nature's Lore. I know those cards are technically better than Cultivate and Kodama's Reach. However, these cards actually encourage you to build better decks. I think we tend to just start running less and less lands, and specifically less and less basics. And both of these encourage you to not do either of those things. And then they also help guarantee that you're gonna hit your next land drop, which is also nice. All right, so moving on to the actual top 10. Number 10 is Secure Tribe Elder. For 1 and a green, it's a snake shaman creature that's a 1/1. You can sacrifice it to search your library for a basic land card to put onto the battlefield, tap, then shuffle. So again, it's another ramp card, but this is just such a sweet card. It being a small creature, day down early, it might be able to get in a couple chips of damage, maybe if you can play it early. And then if not, it's at least a good blocker, and you can sacrifice it at any time at no cost. So best case scenario, you play it on turn 1 or 2, and you get to chip in for a little bit of damage, and then later in the game, someone's swinging out on you, you block their biggest thing, in response, sack it, so you don't take that damage, and you get to go find your land. And then worst case scenario, you're missing your land drop, so you just sack him right away to go get the land. Also, Secure Tribe Elder's nickname is Steve, and my brother's name is Steven, and we all call him Stave. So now we just call Secure Tribe Elder Stave, and that's just fun. Number 9 is Shamanic Revelation. Now, this is by far not the best green draw spell, but it's pretty cool. So for 5 green, it's a sorcery that says draw a card for each creature you control, and then you gain 4 life for each creature you control with power 4 or greater. I don't personally like playing cards that just gain you life, but the fact that you're gonna play this, if you have at least like 4 creatures in play, this is probably worth casting. You're gonna get to draw at least 4 cards for 5 mana. That seems pretty good. And then realistically, probably at least a couple of those creatures are a big enough size that you're gonna gain a little bit of life. Don't really like gaining life in Commander. The game already takes a long time, but just a little bit of life gain here and there, if a couple cards in your deck do it, it can help protect yourself a little bit, especially since I like to play a lot of cards that use my life as a resource, so this kind of makes up for that a little bit. Again, not the best draw spell in green, but it's pretty cool. Number 8 is Belgian Recovery or Belgian Sanctuary. So Belgian Recovery is a sorcery for 2 and a green that says return target card from your graveyard to your hand, which is just overcosted regrowth. Not that great, but in a pinch, it also can be on the backside Belgian Sanctuary, which is just a green land that enters tapped. I hope we get more cards like this. That's part of why I liked Zendikar Rising so much, were these modal double-face cards. I hope we get more of them in the future. The flexibility is just so nice. You need the land, boom. You need something back from your graveyard, boom. And it's any card. It has no restrictions on what kind of card it can grab from your graveyard. Just real sweet. It's next to an auto-glued. Number 7 is the Great Aurora. So for 6 green, so 9 total mana, is a sorcery that says each player shuffles all cards from their hand and all permanents they own into their library, then draw that many cards. Each player puts any number of land cards from their hand onto the battlefield, then you exile it. Now, this is obviously not an auto-including green decks. This is ridiculous. But there is one deck in particular I have this in that makes the game really, really fun. And then I have another deck that I'm thinking about putting it in. Again, not that this is a great card by any means, but holy cow, it is fun and it makes for just really interesting experiences. Number 6 is Elder Gargoth. So this is actually a card I've never got to play in Commander because it's like $20 or something crazy, but I did play it a lot in Standard on Arena. So for 3 green, it's a 6/6 beast with Vigilance, Reach, and Trample. And whenever it attacks or blocks, choose one. Create a 3/3 green beast creature token. You gain 3 life or you draw a card. Now granted, you're almost always going to draw the card, but in a pinch, you can gain the life if you're about to die, or if you need extra attackers or extra blockers, you have that option as well. I really like these versatile creatures that do multiple things in the right situations. Also, that's all on, again, a 5 mana body. This is obviously a great example of power creep, but at the same time, it's like, I don't think anyone thinks this is like an oppressive card. No one thinks this is like broken. It's just very, very strong. So this is, I think, if we have to do power creep, which we do, this is a great example on how to do it in a way that doesn't piss everyone off. Number 5 is a relatively new card. This is Auger of Autumn. For 1 green, it's a human druid, 2/3. You may look at the top card of your library anytime. You may play lands off the top of your library. And then Coven, as long as you control 3 or more creatures with different powers, you may cast creature spells from the top of your library. A card that I really like is Courser of Crufix. In almost every single way, Auger of Autumn is that, except better. Same mana cost, it lets you play lands off the top, except Auger of Autumn is sometimes going to let you cast creatures off the top as well. Also, Auger of Autumn, no one else has to know what's on the top of your library, which is upside against Courser of Crufix. Although Courser of Crufix, I guess, is an enchantment, so I guess if you're in an enchantment deck, that is strictly better in that deck probably. But so this is just great card advantage for only 3 mana, and also it's a human, which I just built a human tribal deck that you guys haven't got to see on the gameplay series yet, but I'm hoping we can make that happen sometime. Pretty cool and great include in that deck. Number 4 is actually probably the strongest card on the list. It is Seaborn Muse. So for 3 green, it's a 2/4 spirit that says untap all permanents you control during each other player's untap step. This card is so crazy strong in so many situations. So the worst case scenario for this card is you give your creatures pseudo vigilance. You can attack with them, then when you pass the turn, you get to untap your creatures. Kind of like they had vigilance. So now you can leave them up for blocks. And now all of your lands are untapped, so you can at least, even if you don't have any instant speed responses in your hand, you can at least bluff that you do. So that's worst case scenario with Seaborn Muse. Best case scenario is now with those things you untapped, you have things to do. Either you do have instants in your hand that you can cast, or you have some kind of mana sink on board that you can dump all that extra mana into, or also if your creatures just have like tap abilities. So this is actually probably the strongest card on the list, but it's also like a kill on sight kind of card. And I also don't like put it in like every green deck I build, mostly for that reason, but also like I do think it's best if you have things to put that extra mana into, then it's obviously worth it, but otherwise it's like just good. Number 3 is Beast Within. It's an instant for 2 and a green that says destroy target permanent. Its controller creates a 3/3 green beast creature token. Now, I love these kind of effects. There's quite a few cards in Commander that do stuff like this. You get rid of something and you give your opponent something in return, which one creates a little bit less of a feel bad. They might feel slightly less obligated to retaliate against you, but also it's just a small creature. It's in the grand scheme of Commander, not that big of a deal that you gave them that, unless it's a token deck, in which case that's pretty bad. But this is the kind of removal I like in Commander. I like flexible removal. I want it to be flexible. I'm starting to run like even Path to Exile less than I used to. I'd rather just play things like Beast Within, Generous Gift, Anguish Unmaking, things that can hit anything. All right, so number 2 is Eternal Witness. So for 1 green, Human Shaman, 2/1, when it enters the battlefield, you may return target card from your graveyard to your hand. So again, like with Belgian Recovery, this is great because for only 3 mana, you get the best card in your graveyard back to your hand. Eternal Witness is just better though, because it's a creature. And if you're a green deck, you want a lot of creatures, chances are. So not only are there going to be inherent synergies having a creature in a creature-based deck, but also it being a creature is easier to get back and use it again if needed later in the game. Also, all of the arts of Eternal Witness, great. All right, so number 1 on the list is a great example of this is just my opinion. I don't think that this is an auto-include in green decks, but I love this card. This is Tireless Tracker. For 2 and a green, it's a 3/2 human scout. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, investigate, which means you create a clue token, which says pay 2, sack it, draw a card. And then whenever you sacrifice a clue token, put a +1/+1 counter on Tireless Tracker. I started playing Magic during Shadows over Innistrad being the newest set. So again, a lot of this is just nostalgia for me, but also this is like a good card that's fair. You're going to be playing lands anyways in Magic, right? So if you get this down pretty early, every time you make a land drop, you're gonna have a artifact. So if you have artifact synergies or if you have token synergies, then obviously it's good. But then also if you just have extra mana lying around or it's later in the game, if your hand's getting kind of small, you can dump that mana into those tokens to draw cards. And then when you do that, you're gonna make the tireless tracker bigger. A 3 mana 3/2 isn't anything to scoff at, but if it draws you a couple cards and it gets a little bit bigger, that sounds like a win-win to me. Is tireless tracker actually the best green card? No, of course it's not, but I love it. It's fun and it's fair and actually good. It is good. It's just, you know, by far not the best. But those are my personal top picks for the top 10 green cards in Magic, specifically for Commander. But now I'm turning it over to you. What are some of your personal favorite green cards to play in Magic, specifically in Commander? But if you got other formats in mind as well, let me know. Make sure to subscribe for more Magic the Gathering related content. Specifically this Friday, I am actually playing a green deck, not mono green, but it does have green in it, on the newest episode of our Commander gameplay series Upkeep. So check that out when it comes out on Friday, and I will see you guys later.